Hold on, I just need to take off my pants. It's really hot in here.
Same. I've done the same.
Yep. Okay, good. Then we're pantsless bros. Oh, so much nicer. Actually,
I could be like, we could make it like a second podcast, like the Pantsless podcast.
the pantsless podcast.
Yep.
My legs are sticking now to that chair. That's disgusting.
Hello and welcome to Hardcast, where we'll see Philip Sand face off against Captain Caveman. I can't quite do that voice, but yeah. I'm Humphrey Erm.
And I'm Christian Claus.
Lifeline. Give me Exo Manowar Volume 8. Enter Armorines. First of all, I just have to say that after all this like escalation in the previous volumes, it was kind of refreshing having something a bit more, I'd hate to say mundane, but a little bit lesser stakes in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the stakes were pretty high in the sense of like Eric was close to death.
So yeah, but in a very sort of mild way. I mean, again, that's the issue you have with anything like this, where, you know, oh, we have Divine attacking. Oh, we have the Armor Hunters attacking. You know, it's, oh, wow. I mean, sure, you can always come up with other aliens attacking or whatnot. But it's kind of nice having something a bit different this time around.
Well, I mean, maybe it was different for the Valiant universe, but I mean, isn't this literally Iron Man 2 and 3?
So I was curious about that. What's it called? Not specifically with the movies, but is he supposed to be like is Philip Sand supposed to be like a take that against Iron Man, or
Maybe. I mean, I was kind of looking at it. I mean, everything is very Iron Man. I mean, the whole like daddy issues. I mean, maybe it's a little bit different because like it seems like Philip is a little bit more is more violent than his dad was. Like his dad seems to be kind of like a pushover or something like that. He said in the comic, whereas it seems like, you know, Howard Stark is a little bit nicer than Tony Stark. I mean, or sorry, the other way around. That Howard Stark was a little bit more, I wouldn't say ruthless, but he knew what needed to be done to get the job done. Whereas Tony's now more like, you know, because of course with the whole thing, and especially in the movies where it's just like no more weapons manufacturing and that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I think maybe they could have made him American then in that sense. I mean, I don't understand why they made him German or Austrian. I don't know what he was.
that's true.
But I'm assuming he's one of those because, I mean, especially he did say Dankeschön with the O umlaut. So thank you, letterer, for this. Especially with the suit, you know, when he has the heads-up display. I mean, that's Iron Man from the movies, like 1-to-1. I mean, I would call like ripoff if, you know, I wasn't sure about if you can copyright that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think I've seen it anywhere before. This kind of like a heads-up display while you're inside a suit before Iron Man 1 came out.
You had Metroid Prime.
Yeah, true, but I mean, you never had that shot. You know? What I mean?
From the opposite end, not from a first-person view.
Yeah. I mean, you had it. Yes, you had it in Metroid Prime and in Halo and all these kind of like video games where you do have a heads-up display. Heads-up display is not a new thing, but that shot of like a head in a dark room with these lights in front of him, that was Iron Man 1.
Yeah.
Where else have you seen that before Iron Man 1?
Yeah, no, I get that. So, but it's one of those things where maybe a ripoff, but it's not something I think you can really copyright.
No, I'm not saying that you can copyright it, but it's so blatant though.
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Yeah,
that's
it's
why
like,
I'm curious if this is supposed to be like a kind of like critique or deconstruction of that character. Because there's a lot of elements. I mean,
also the idea that he's like not only an alcoholic, but like there's an alcoholic who will strap 2 beer cans to his head. And then there's a totally different type of alcoholic who will strap actual like spirits to his head. So I think that they're really going into the extreme here, and also the idea that he calls his computer bartender.
Yeah. I gotta like that though. That's gonna.
Yeah, but I mean, I do feel like they were trying to, very, very much make fun of Iron Man.
Well, again, it's just there's. But what I find interesting though is because again, it doesn't feel like it's a super. I don't know how to describe it because, like, all the elements are there, super rich,
Yeah.
womanizer,
Mhm.
alcoholic, smart in that sense. Like it's all there, but I'm not sure if it's a point against the Valiant or not. But I still don't, doesn't at all feel like Tony Stark in that sense. And not just in terms of like the assholesness. It just kind of,
Well, he's missing the charm.
I guess, is that simply all that's missing?
I think so because he's not very charming. He's just a douchebag,
Mm,
and I think no matter how, in some sense, douchey like Tony Stark got. I mean, that's the thing. Like we met him when he had his like a pivoting point in his life when he then became nicer.
mm,
So when we get like flashbacks, like at the beginning of Iron Man 3, when he was in like, what was it, Vienna or Brussels or something, where he was at that party and he was being a total asshole, we were like, oh yeah, he was like this. This was his younger self, basically. And then when you see him kind of like, you see kind of like the nice guy kind of coming through when he's actually interested in the science project that she was doing. So you kind of had this like, oh, he's a charming man. He's going to redeem himself later. That's fine. But with this guy, we're just looking at him like he's just a dick. Like the whole thing about, I mean, the reason at the end that his wife was able to take everything and kind of just completely screw him up, and even the girl that he's sleeping with, I guess is the secretary,
yeah.
that they were able to like outsmart him. That is like this justice served kind of thing where we have this feeling of okay, good, he got his just desserts because he's being such an asshole. And I think if you wanted to make this guy charming or somehow likable, you wouldn't have him kind of get what he deserved at the end. You know, you'd have a different way of him redeeming himself instead of like other people bringing upon their justice on him.
Yeah, no, that's true. But again, I mean, obviously he's supposed to be, he's not supposed to be likable.
Oh no, definitely not.
But I don't know, it's just in terms of a meta level as well, because, while obviously there, as we've discussed before, what's called Auric has more in common with a Blue Beetle than he does Iron Man in terms of like
Oh
the
yeah.
suit.
Yep.
But it's still, Iron Man is of course the famous person now with the, like the whole powered up suit thing. So yeah, I don't know. It just kind of feels like it didn't feel like it reading it, but as an analysis, like observing it, it kind of feels like, haha, take that, Marvel. Our armored guy, is a lot more charming and interesting. Tony Stark is all silly and douchey. That's what we're showing here.
Really, that's what you were taking.
No,
I
no,
thought it was
it's
more
not.
like
It's
a
not what I got from reading it, but it's just on a meta level, observing it. But that's what I find so interesting about it in terms of. That's why I asked you before. Like, is that really all that's missing? That he's charming? That's
no, no, no. I think what Valiant is doing with this character is they're making fun of Tony Stark. They're not saying that they're better than Tony Stark or that their character is better than Tony Stark. That they're saying that they're ridiculing him by putting him to his extremes. Like yeah, Tony Stark is an alcoholic, but he's never strapped spirits to a thinking cap and then drunk that while he was working. And he definitely doesn't have a nozzle in his suit that gives him gin. So I think what they were doing is they were taking this character to the extremes and kind of like,
mm.
like how South Park does it. They make everything to the extremes and do a commentary on it or something like that. I
I
mean,
suppose so. Not so much of a commentary, I guess, than more. Yes, you said yes, making fun.
yeah, it's a jab. It's a jab at Marvel. That's all it is.
Yeah, but not okay. Not so much about showing themselves off. It's just yeah, it's kind of. I mean, there's gonna be a comparison, so why not have like a analog to what's called Iron Man here as well?
Right.
So yeah, again, I mean, I had no problem with it. As I said, as I read it, both the first time and the reread now, and it never felt like a mean spirited thing or anything. This kind of character feels like he fits. Like obviously, someone's gonna reverse engineer the concept of an Exo Manowar suit, and
Yeah, but I mean, I felt like I guess it's kind of hard being the new guy, relatively the new guy in a very established kind of industry. because it's very hard to not copy something.
Mm.
And you know, you and I will kind of look at some characters like with Exo Manowar. We will say like, well, he's kind of like Blue Beetle. But if you put the two next to each other and kind of listed what they can do and who they are and what they have, you could be like, I mean, you look at it and go like, yeah, kind of, I get it. But their stories are very separate still. So anyone who just kind of has a quick glance would not kind of see similarities between them. But I feel like with these two guys, if you put Stark and San next to each other, it's so obvious.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so obvious. Like it's not even. I mean, the idea that he has all these suits, not only one suit. Like he didn't make his own suit and then just use that. He made an armada of suits very similar to, you know, all the like the robots in Age of Ultron.
Mm.
You know, all this stuff. This is so it's so obviously Tony Stark. The only thing they really needed to do still to really drive it home is slap a mustache on him or like a beard on him.
That's true. Yeah, facial hair, bro.
That's literally, yeah, it's all they need to do. I mean, I just realized when I said Stark and San, I realized they also have two like German names.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, the best thing would have been if they would have named him Philipp Stärker or something like that, and like stronger, just to really be like Stark and Stärker.
Mm.
You know, just
Yeah.
to really drive it home. But
Yeah, and he's got what's called a redhead. He sleeps with a redhead too.
that is very true. Yeah.
That's you know the nail in the coffin there.
Oh, they should have called her Salt.
So, but that's what. But I think that's my point though about it, because it feels. It doesn't really feel like it's. It's so hard to describe for me here because I don't feel like they're making a point. I think is what I'm trying to say. Like, okay, yeah, here we kind of have like a Tony Stark, you know, parody in a sense.
You know.
You know, we have some action, you know, some fights, so you know all that. But I don't know. I just feel when you have like a parody character like this that picks up the whole story, I just feel there'd be more of a point involved. Like they
Exactly.
did that a lot in the '90s. Because you know this. Not I don't know about Valiant themselves. I know like in the DC, for example, they played around with that whole '90s anti-hero thing. You know, the whole pouches and guns and all that.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember checking out something called the Aztec, the Last Human, or the something like that. It was like a relatively new DC character, and they had an issue where he fought against one of those like a parody of those guys. So like he was supposed to be like a hero, but there was like a lot of collateral damage and kills and stuff. So you know, oh well, so you know you kind of have like this kind of more classic superhero defeating this like you know '90s anti-hero.
Mm.
Like there's a point there. I feel like yes, ours is better, or you know, it's regardless if you agree or not. But here it's I don't know. I never felt like there was a point involved because
Yeah, they
it's
weren't like going in and saying like, let's pit Iron Man against Exo Manowar.
yeah. I mean, it's sort of there. I mean, San wants to prove his armor is better.
Yeah, but then they would have. I think they should have then, if that was like their intention, they should have pulled San back a little bit. You know, he should have been then more like Tony Stark, like not a character, like a caricature of him.
Exactly.
He should have been more like Tony Stark then, not like literally a parody, not a a characterization. Or yeah, I guess that's how you say it.
So yeah, again, I don't know. Just like I said, it's nothing wrong with it all. It just felt, and I hesitate to say pointless.
No, it's not pointless. I
Yeah,
mean, it is, it does feel natural. That's the thing. Like,
exactly. That's what I mean as well.
yeah, it's not bad. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to say either. It's not bad, but and it does feel natural. So when a super suit like this comes out, or people recognize that the suit exists, there's going to be some egotistical, multi-million-dollar rich guy who just wants to prove himself and be like, no, my stuff is better. And then he goes crazy with it. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, that's why, I mean, we even had this kind of pretty much this exact story, except for with the whole revenge part. But you had this like story in Iron Man 2, with
Mm.
Whiplash coming in. He wanted to prove that he could make a god bleed, basically. That's what he even said in the movie. And I feel that this is the kind of the similar thing, and I think that's also just a natural story when you're talking about technology. There's always someone who wants to prove that they have the better technology. There's someone who wants to prove that they are better than the other person. So that's what this is. Why they took made a Tony Stark caricature out of it, I don't know, but it's not. It doesn't feel unnatural. It doesn't feel forced either. It just, yeah, it fits. We get what it is, and that's it.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. I think we like discussed that part of it well enough. So it was it was just an interesting addition, I guess, to the world building. That we now have these like armorines as well. I guess have to nitpick as well. What's called the cover for issue 30, like the first, like not the issue 0, but the first of the actual story. So like, and it just annoys me because they're basically foreshadowing about the second issue. Because there's none of the shrinking people in the issue 30.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, it's a nitpick, pure nitpick, but it just kind of you know how I feel about like misleading covers.
Oh yeah. I didn't even notice that. I just couldn't. Can I just skip the covers? I'm horrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I mean, the covers don't really matter when you're buying them collected like this. I mean, they're supposed to get your attention in the news rack or in the comic
Only
stand.
the first cover matters.
No, that's true.
But it's kind of weird because this does look kind of. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily seen these as miniature fighters, like miniature suits.
Mm.
I don't know, because of the way that it's kind of set up like a panel. It kind of looks like it's just like on top of each other. Like
Yeah, more
it's just
symbolic.
yeah, it's like a symbolic thing. Like it's not even real. So I wouldn't even have even thought that this was the miniatures, because when I was looking at it even now, it doesn't look like they're in the same shot, basically.
Mm.
So,
Sind Sie dein Essen? Nein, wir sind Sie Jäger.
wow.
Yeah, that was awful. I like had it in my head that I was gonna like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna say it, and then it just got so badly
It
out.
it was we have German listeners, Humphrey.
Yeah, I know that
Just
was
butchered the
terrible.
language. Butchered it.
Yeah, then I had it like in my head, and I like the theme song was playing perfectly. Attack on Titan, if that was so
Yeah.
unclear how I sang it.
But honestly, even if you had said it exactly like they say it in the intro to that
It's
song,
bad
or
grammar.
that intro, it's still bad grammar and it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, there was some Japanese lyricist who was just Google translating.
Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. Like, what is the official translate? What is the official line again?
Oh, I'm not sure. Isn't it like isn't it like since we that is like are we the food? No,
It,
we are the hunters.
yeah, that's so bad. Like, sind wir das Essen? Nein, wir sind die Jäger.
So we wouldn't be more like prey, rather. That'd
Yeah,
be the
but
word.
even then, I mean, I'm kind of like, I always said like, I always wanted to say like, Sie sind das Essen und wir sind die Jäger. Kind of like, they are the food and we're the hunters.
Mm.
Kind of like that, but
I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
yeah. I know it doesn't make sense but that makes more sense. Anyway, let's. We
Yeah.
don't have to talk about anime
Yeah. Sorry.
until we
Yes.
get
That.
sponsored by Crunchyroll. We're not going to talk about anime.
Yeah. That totally derailed here. Sorry. Yes, for one very crap made reference joke. But yeah. Let's see. I get one thing I wanted to say as well. I really love the Nebraska scenes. So like with Arik and his like girlfriend and stuff like that.
His girlfriend, his lover. I still can't believe they still have that running water on in there.
Yeah, I mean, I get frustrated when I see it.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah, me too.
Capshaw, I guess.
Yeah,
So are you at
I
peace
mean
with
we're
that?
we're paying for this, right?
So yeah, no, it's just it's obviously there's no actual water being wasted here, but just
Yeah.
like I'm not even looking at the sound effect.
Mm.
It's just it's the fact. It's the fact it's there. So, but yeah, no, I don't know. I just I just think it was very nice and humanizing, as well as it shows, the progression of Arik. I mean, the fact that he's eating, shirimoyas,
Hmm.
that's just like a nice little, just nice detail, since that was, I mean, he's repeating what that guy from Orb Industries was saying, about indulgences, and that's, what makes us.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess I like the fact that we can see such a clear progression of the character. I mean, we kind of have gotten him to a bit of a status quo now. He's basically this like super weapon of the American army. I mean, he went through so much stuff throughout the first volumes. From his origin of being kidnapped, teaming up with
Yeah.
Ninjak, you know,
Yeah.
killing all the Vine. Well, not all of them, but yeah, taking over Romania. Like so much stuff happening. But now we kind of seem to have a sort of base of operations. Like this is where we like like if this was a TV show, this is like the setting we have that all the writers can work from.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, but just kind of nice. It's just cool. From I guess kind of sort of realized that reading this, I guess after the whole Armor Hunter stuff, it just feels kind of nice. Like yeah, this is his sort of new life. People living in these sort of barracks and yeah, having good
Well,
time on Uncle Sam's dollar.
yeah, it feels like it's kind of like one of those, like you said, when a series gets to this point where it's just Monster of the Week now,
Mm.
and it feels really nice. I mean, I mean, we're in the last season of Buffy right now, and it's so goddamn depressing and sad and confusing and twists everywhere. It's horrible, so horrible. And I was just sitting there one time after a really, really horrible reveal, and I was just like in the fetal position, just talking to my girl because she's already seen the entire season,
Mm.
and I'm just like, I want to go back to season one. Like I want to go back to the happy days when it was just a monster every week that came in, they solved it, and they were friends afterwards, and everything was good and happy and everything. And I love this. I mean, I love this kind of for Eric as well. Like that's why I love reading volumes. I think maybe if we ever catch up, I think I would prefer still reading the volumes than reading like the issues singularly
Mm.
because it feels like a 45-minute episode of a TV series. Because it's like you have this overarching kind of arc over all these issues, and it's a nice, complete story. Like with here, we have a new villain, we have a status quo that's already set up, the new villain comes in, they have a fight, the villain gets defeated, and everything goes back to normal, but does it? That kind of thing. Like it feels nice, it's nice to read, and I'm really enjoying reading these like just volumes just because it feels kind of like this is how these comics are meant to be read.
Well, they are, as we've discussed, they are like written for the trade.
Exactly, but it feels good, and I think I would do that from now on as well. Maybe I'll start with Aquaman again, just getting the volumes instead of the issues like I used to do.
Again, it's all about like at what like how you want to enjoy it in that sense. If you
Mm.
just want like more of a complete story, then definitely. But if you want to have like the whole, speculating, discussing with people, I mean, like I just read what's called because I saw I was afraid of spoilers, so I bought the first volume of Harbinger Renegades, the new like Harbinger series.
The one where that one person dies.
So, well, yeah, they've had this whole thing, hashtag massacre.
Mm. Is it
So,
bad?
again, it's not bad, bad. I don't want to spoil things for you, so I'm
Yeah.
being as vague as possible. So, but it's kind of like I see what they're going for. They're like trying to set up for the whole Harbinger Wars 2. So they're trying to
Okay.
like make the situation dire so that it feels justified, I guess. But I don't know.
Okay.
It's there was a there,
Wait, so do you know who dies?
hmm?
Do you know who dies? Has that been revealed already?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, there might be more
Okay.
in the later issues. I don't know.
So from a how should you say it? From a scale of Bambi's mom to the Red Wedding, how devastating is it?
Ah, Depends. I mean, honestly, I'm not sure which one you find worse out of those two.
Well, the Red Wedding. I mean, the Bemmy's mom. I remember in school I would rewind it, and we'd all cheer when she died.
Oh yeah, yeah, you
That's
mentioned
weird.
that once. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a weird time.
yeah. How's life without a soul?
It's pretty good, pretty freeing actually. I can
Yeah,
do so many things.
I don't know. It's like I said, it's one of those things where
But is it like the scale of a Red Wedding? I mean, if you're saying massacre, is it
I can say
is
it's
it
more
like
than one.
God damn it,
So it's more than one. I guess massacre should imply that.
right?
Because that's unless you just want to be like hyperbolic. Oh, one person slipped on a banana peel and cracked his head. Massacre.
Wow.
So, but nah, I don't know. It's more about because I read a really good. It's one of the few times I've seen a good thread on the 4chan about it because Valiant's like very rarely talked about there.
Mm.
So which shows just how few people care in that sense, including this one page in there that where someone replied to it and said like, "Oh wow, this proves how few people read Valiant because this page would be so popular amongst like the politically incorrect the board, like the poll and all that."
Oh, really? Okay.
It's I don't know. It's not really a spoiler, but they basically have a Donald Trump thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
they have an actual like tweet. I'm not sure if it's a real tweet that they edited or so,
Hmm.
but it just kind of like when I saw that and when I read it, I was kind of like like yeah, it makes sense, but I don't know. It's one of those things where you kind of like can't they just have a fictional president so I can avoid all this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I keep on saying that Valiant is no longer the universe outside our window
Exactly. They
or
can
the
get
world outside
away
our
with
window.
it now without feeling weird because
Yeah, because especially with some like Donald Trump, like I said even last episode, I don't think he could be elected in a society that has been created through Exo Manowar, through unity, through ginger, that kind of stuff.
yeah, who
So
knows?
I don't know. No, I just feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to it eventually.
Yeah,
We're
it'll be a
racing
while
towards
though.
it.
So, but yeah. So, man, but wow, we were kind of like, not sidetracking into Attack on Titan. We were sidetracking to things that are like years later.
Well, I mean, I guess it says a lot about the comic, huh?
Again, it's not like bad. Just I guess very
No, it's not
mundane.
bad.
What
Yeah, it's mundane.
one thing I pointed
It's a
out though,
bottleneck episode.
yeah, it's just normal. It's the normal, yeah. But one thing I did point out though, I really feel it could have benefited from another issue.
You think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I like that they're kind of concise, they're quick with it. But we have like the whole first issue in terms of not including issue zero. Yes, like okay, setting it all up. We get a full understanding who San is. The whole
Mm-hmm.
plot set up. Some nice remnants, of course, of armor hunters with Arik killing that like hound.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of nice. I like that things don't just immediately end of the other stuff. Then the second issue, ends with him then like in like compromised, with his eardrum destroyed. So like okay, cool, But then I really feel there should have been an issue in between the second and the third that it was just more of a fight. Like I don't know, I feel they have the whole like him beating them and stuff like that. Like it just feels so quick. I feel it could have just been nice to have like more of a fight
Mm.
because it just feels a little. I wouldn't say pathetic, but it's just okay. Cool. We they're definitely villains. They're It reminds me a bit of Gladiator. So with the what's called Emperor, like stabbing Russell Crowe right before they're gonna fight, so that he'll have an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Or disadvantage.
Oh, well, yeah, but so the Emperor will have an advantage, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like okay, cool. That's very what's called douchey and all that. So it's like cool. It's like it's a nice cliffhanger. Surrounded. Even has his helmet off. But then it just so quick everything, and it feels one of those moments like I get why what's called San is like what's called insisting on it all in terms of no, we have to have it be like this, like he has to have the helmet on and we have to make it look good, but it still kind of gets like, oh Jesus Christ, like like why don't you just shoot him if that's the whole point? Which I guess it isn't. It's the whole show of it all. But one more issue. I just feel one more issue would have just fleshed it all out a little better, a little more satisfying.
I don't know. I think you'd notice that the pacing would have been off a little bit because you can't have an issue just full of fighting, and then you'd have to fill it with dialogue that isn't really worth it, or you'd put in a flashback, one of those things where like
Mm,
they're in the middle of a fight and then they get knocked on the head and then they just have this flashback to back when they were kids and you'd see him with his buddy fighting and being like in a similar situation and he learns something from his flashback that he can use in the yeah, that would just be padding. And I feel like this was done well. I mean, the fight goes over like the actual fight is like what, 14 pages. So it's over half the comic is the fight scene. And I feel like that's pretty much enough. Because I think, again, otherwise it would just be way too dragged out. If you add another 10 pages to that for that fight scene, and then you have another whole comic where you have to discuss like what happened, I don't know. I mean, when you said like you wanted to have another issue, I would have thought like at the end of the third issue, where you can kind of wrap more things up because I didn't know what was going on in that last page where
yeah, the guy in the
it
bar.
really, yeah, where it really felt like one of those, like the end of Iron Man 1,
Mm.
where was it Iron Man 1? Yeah, where Tony comes into the bar.
No, no, that's what's called Incredible Hulk. If it's the bar.
Oh, that was a bar was incredible. Yeah, it kind of feels like the Incredible Hulk scene where he walks in. We're gonna make a team.
So yeah, no, I mean, I'm not sure if he's been shown before, but I do think I know who he is later based on like what I've read. But yeah, it
Harold
does feel a
Lewis.
bit odd. Like I mean, they're kind of like having a transition there. It is defined by the warrior who chooses to wear it. So like this is the warrior who chooses to wear it.
Hmm.
But then it's kind of like okay, but he's been dishonorably, wait, no, honorably discharged.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I don't know, it just feels kind of like a weird. Well, I guess it just kind of feel like okay, hello, person I've never met before, who doesn't really have anything interesting on this page. It's not
Right.
like oh he has a cool power or something. Like oh who's this guy?
Yeah.
It's like
See, that's what I mean. That's why I would have expected like another. Like this is where I would have wanted to have an extra issue just to kind of explain who this guy is.
I don't think you need an extra issue for that. You just need a better page. No, no, no.
No, but like you could have a whole issue about him kind of say he gets one of those suits. I mean, that could always be like a thing where then the better cliffhanger would be then to have him learn how to use the suit and then go confront Exo Manowar to confront Eric.
Mm.
That would have been, I think, a little bit stronger of an ending if you wanted to have another extra issue at the end. Because now we're just like, okay, so I mean, this would be good for an issue end, obviously, because it's not the end of the arc in that sense, and then you can end the arc with like something powerful, like, oh no, he defeated San, but he has another enemy coming up, and yeah, because right now I don't know if this is a good guy or a bad guy or what.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just a tease for the next volume, I'm assuming. But yeah, it doesn't feel like there's anything there. Like he looks so mundane.
Exactly.
It's like not like oh he's got a scar or like there's like no we just understand that okay he must have been like soldier of some sort. Some military guy. So, but yeah, either way, again, if it is the guy I think he is, because that's also where the
He's a
art, can get
he's a
tricky. Hmm?
gunnery sergeant.
No,
Does that mean that he's some sort of tank person? I don't know.
I don't know. I what's called, what's the word in English? The ones who refuse to carry weapons.
Pacifist?
Yeah, but isn't there another word specifically like, not like,
Pussy?
hmm? Hmm?
Pussy?
Oh, well, either way. But yeah, but let's discuss issue zero then. Since we've gone through the main story.
Oh, okay, back to the front.
So, what's called? I gotta say, first of all, art is lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Just this nice. Not sure if I'd call it painterly in of itself. I mean, it is, has this kind of like strokes on it, but just very lovely in terms of like lighting, the form of the characters, as well as also just nice, like not like in super innovative panel layouts, but just very nice like setup. Like it just looks very nice when I'm like looking at the thumbnails here.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah, like each page has like a nice sort of theme to it, and the contents of each panel is very beautifully rendered.
Oh yeah,
Like I love that giant Roman.
yeah. It's. I mean, talk about David and Goliath, huh?
Mm. Yeah, and I mean it might be a little silly in that sense, but I kind of like stuff like that, especially like in like ancient times, due to the lack of like photographic records. I always like the idea that there could have been people like that, because it kind of feels like a more mad. It could be that he has an actual condition. What's called gigantism,
Mm-hmm.
like Andre the Giant. So that's kind of cool, but I also like the fact that after all the stuff we've been seeing, I just like the idea of something very human, something very simple, feeling a lot more like scary than like a lot of stuff we've been seeing in a
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. You know how we used to talk about the whole 180 rule
Hmm?
in like in previous episodes we talked about the 180-degree
Oh
rule.
yeah.
Uh, are you on page 20 then with the
Yes, yes, exactly.
yeah? You know how they broke the rule here with the close up of the kid getting hit.
So oh yeah.
That really distracted me because this is one of those things where the 180 rule is so important. I mean, I'm assuming they're kind of doing it because of the sword hit, in the panel underneath it,
Mm,
so that it kind of has room for the sword. But that really confused me because for a second I thought that
was Roman.
that was the Roman because they have similar like helmet shapes and it just looks so much like the Roman that I thought like, wait, why is he like looking up in the air or kind of like closing his eyes and reaching his head up to the sky like if
Mm.
he's enjoying it so much? I don't know. But that's where the 180 rule is kind of important because for a second there I was like, well, wait, who is this person? If they would have flipped that panel around, it would have all made sense. But then you would have to make the guard left-handed or whatever.
Exactly. Well, again, this brings up the just the issue there is like with just comic art in that sense. Because in film, you'll have your space basically, your format.
Well, you block it also before anything.
Yeah, no, of course, but still, you have like, okay, this is the resolution, this is the dimensions. We can play with it. We can have like a split screen effect at some point. That will give a different feel. We can do like Samurai Jack and have like super widescreen or several panels appearing. But you have that kind of setup, and in a sense, you have that with the page. But here, you don't have like one image per page. So I think it's one of those things where they probably really like the start of this page layout, but then it just kind of we had to kind of fit it in like that and break the rule. Otherwise the second panel might not have worked correctly and the last one and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff they do as well is the problem with the speech balloons because then you have like people standing on the left, like you have a person standing on the left and another person on the right, but you need the person on the right to speak first, and you can't have the bubble like on the other side of the like on the left side and then have a long tail go all the way over.
Mm.
And I've seen some people work with that. I can't remember where it was, but just recently I actually saw I think it might have been a manga that I read. They did something very interesting where they just had the balloon in the air without a tail. So from a 180-degree rule, it was correct. But if they had put the balloon next to the person on the right who was talking first, they would have had to make like a long line all the way to the other side of the panel. So instead, they just kind of put a balloon on the left that had no tail. And for whatever reason, when I was reading it, I immediately knew that this guy was talking. I don't know why it was. I can't remember where it was. So I can't like give you like an example. But yeah,
No, I get what you
just
mean.
interesting how like what rules get broken and when and why.
So, but yeah, but it's just stuff like happen. It's again. I mean, it's possible, of course, to keep within that all the time, but it depends then on how you're like if you're doing kind of like sort of like album comics in like Europe, where they usually just have like the same sort of like panel sizes for the most part, the dimensions, so you can kind of keep to that 180 rule a lot easier. But when you want to like have like very not abstract but elaborate panels and stuff like that, sometimes it can get a bit darn, it's the way it's been done here. We kind of break the rule. But I don't know. It's not like the worst thing I feel. Like I didn't feel the way you did about that one with him like getting hit.
Yeah,
So, but again, It depends on the reader sometimes too.
yeah, I guess it does. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's just because I'm more film oriented that I kind of pick up on that kind of stuff or
Mm.
get distracted by it easier.
I gotta say though, maybe also Claymon or Clayman. So, what's the artist for this?
Mm.
But writing wise for this one, I don't know because this was an issue zero, and I don't know. Did this feel like issue zero material story wise?
Not really. I mean, I didn't even realize that it was an issue zero.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like I like this. I like stories like this. I'm
Well, I
actually
love this story. I mean, I love this more than the rest of the comic
yeah,
or the rest of
yeah,
the
no, but I
volume.
think I've noticed that with you, and I think I'm similar in some ways due to me liking like a lot of like the older stories of the Phantom and stuff.
Hmm.
Just something nice about little action story in historical settings.
Yeah.
I think it's also the fact that these settings it's just such a different value system that is interesting to see where you can have like this. I mean, good lord, the whole opening here. Oh yeah, hey kids, you got to go out and kill the survivors.
Yeah.
And it's not they do show it as gruesome, but they're not showing it as wrong or anything. They're not like giving Auric some kind of like modern sensibilities here.
No, of course not. I
And
mean, that's what they did. And I mean, even like what it was said that the Romans were just letting the dogs take
mm,
take their lives. I mean, so like why are they letting these people kind of have a quick death when they could do much worse?
so yeah, no, exactly. But again, but I think that's what's so nice with these kinds of stories, these kind of settings, because it's not so much about oh wow, what a cool time. It's just kind of like yeah, it's nice, it's interesting. This was just the frank talking points. So and the fact that then having actually being able to kill a man, shown as again like as a good thing, as like a mature thing. He has become a. I mean, I love just the whole way he's drawn because he's shown as muscular in like previous pages, but then that on page 22 when he's killed his first man, just the way he's drawn there is like yes, it's a totally different person now. So yeah, no, I like that kind of stuff, and that's what I mean. That's what's so interesting about these kinds of settings. Again, I also recently read some more Eternal Warrior from one of the other issues. I'm just trying to catch up with like a recent Valiant, and I think
Well, it's
you'll
a good selection.
yeah, and I think you'll really
So,
like that one, Wrath of the Eternal
okay.
Warrior, Volume Two.
Did you send me Wrath of the Eternal Warrior 1?
No, it was
Like I think
that's
you
that
did.
another thing. It's the Days of Steel, I think.
Oh, Days of Steel. Yeah, you gifted that to me for Christmas or something like that one year.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is a different series afterwards. So, but yeah, it's just they had like a cool two-parter thing, which was like, oh man, this is just nice historical action. But my main point when I mentioned if this was like an issue zero, it's just like yeah, it's showing like a maturity thing with Auric, like how he became this warrior. But I don't know, it's didn't feel like enough somehow. I guess like it really feels like such a side story rather than like a origin, so to speak, which I think is usually the idea of an issue zero.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I also didn't because didn't we have an issue zero already or something like that?
I don't think
Or I guess
so.
no, but that's the thing. Like we were with him since the beginning, more or less.
That's true, yeah.
So I feel maybe that's the problem because we've seen so much of his past that we're kind of like, well, the issue zero is basically just his past again. But it is. I mean, if you say your definition is the origin story is in issue 0, then yeah, this is in issue 0 because it is the origin story of how he became the warrior that he is today. I mean, obviously, it's not about him being born and growing up or whatever, but it is the pivotal point in his life where his life changed, and his life changed when he killed that huge monster or that huge Roman.
Yeah, no, I suppose. So I don't know. Just it just I feel as a whole, this volume had this kind of this kind of normal. Like this is like a normal episode. You know what I mean? Like I always think of that like watching like the the animated series. You know, like for all the the Paul Dini stories. You know, the Paul Dini episodes, which were always like the really good ones.
Yeah,
You know, ones where they really like really thought about the villain or about Batman and really like, oh, so clever, so good. You know, for all of those, there's even more which are just, yeah, it's cool. You know, Batman did some stuff. The villain was okay. It's I guess average might be the word, or because it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just like, yeah, it's part of the series. I'm not upset I read it or anything.
yeah, of course. I mean, I think it was great. It's just, yeah, as you said, it's average. It's not something that I'm getting too excited about, but it's like one of those things where it's solid enough that I would buy the next one. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like it's not like I'm sitting here going like, oh my god, I really can't wait to read the next one. I can't wait. Like with the delinquents one that we read, I was just like really excited about that. But this also isn't one where I'm just looking at it going like, ugh, I'm really not looking forward to reading the next one. So it's kind of like, yeah, if I was reading this while it was coming out, I would be looking forward to the next one, but not like totally excited. It wouldn't be my first pick, but it would be on my pull list.
So, oh, one last thing I think, because I think we've gone through most of it here.
Okay.
Did you pay attention to those extra pages at the end of each issue?
Yes.
So what's called it's leading up to the next volume of Manowar. What do you think is happening, or no, maybe it's not enough to speculate on. I don't know. It's just
It looks like it's just like an invasion of mini suits. I feel like it was kind of a problem because they were setting up that miniature soldier who infiltrated Eric's ear.
mm,
At the same time, they were also setting up this thing. I guess whatever it's called, the
dead hand.
dead hand. Yeah. So I got really confused, and because I was thinking, well, obviously the thing with the soldier is happening at the same time. So now what is this other thing? So I don't know. I don't think they made it clear enough that this was a separate thing. Because again, all they do is they announce it with soon,
Mm.
and it's like, well, you already used that in the comic or in the issue already that something was going to happen soon in the same
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
text in the same box, everything. So I'm like, well, how should I know that this is not part of the story that I'm reading right now? How am I supposed to know that this is just a one-page teaser for something that's way down the road? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just something that felt weird for me as a person who's not that into comic books. Because I guess that's something that can happen to me a lot is that I read something as somewhat of a comic book newbie and then I don't get it. But the way that the title is at the end, I understand that you're kind of you're building up to the title, kind of like you do with trailers and movies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But it doesn't really work because I need something to separate it. I need like here in Germany, or I don't know if they do it in America as well. I need that little banner thing between the series and the commercials
Mm.
to know that I'm about to see commercials. Because if you just fade into the next thing right away, I'm gonna be like, oh, is this still part of the series or is this like what's going on here? I can't tell you how to do it. And this is an editor's job to set up the way that the thing goes. And I can't say anything to that because there's probably rules that they have to follow or some sort of marketing that's been done. But yeah, it was just really confusing, especially because it was just like this one page each issue and they kind of connected. And honestly, if I was reading this month by month, I would have totally forgotten about that last page
Mm.
because it's just such a page. It's like a page of like, oh, look, it's robots, or maybe it's a suit, or maybe it's aliens. I don't know. But there's a lot of them, and they're kind of tiny, or maybe they're not. Just looks tiny because they're in space, and I don't know what size is. And that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
It's
like,
just
well,
weird.
again, I can promise that it's going to be a pretty cool volume, but that's involved with that.
Okay. Well, then I look
So
forward to it.
I remember when it because again, this is when I was first reading them. This was when I was like buying them, like past the Humble Bundle.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember like checking this out, and it was like just like really cool adventure. It'll be a while till we get there, but so yeah, look forward to it.
Well, I'm also really looking forward to the Valiant now again because it's being advertised in these volumes,
Yeah.
and I'm just seeing that whole. I'm just seeing that whole beginning part of the Valiant where Gilad is just like walking around and damn, I just remembered reading that and just being so impressed and just so excited for that volume. Like when you gave it to me and these were the first couple of pages, I was just like, oh yes, this is gonna be awesome. But yeah, we're gonna get to that soon.
Yep. Well, it's gonna
Only
be
5 more episodes.
yeah soon. I mean, it's the 50th, so five more. Like it's like four more before that one.
Damn, dude, we've been doing 45 episodes of these.
Yeah, and I'm proud of ourselves.
Yeah, it's
Give us a hand, everyone. Or a tweet. Give us a
yeah.
tweet, everyone. So, but yeah, but I guess that's about it. Diego Bernard as the artist for what's called the main issue. So I think he did a good job as well. So especially I like the ear scenes because that's always something that's kind of bizarre to draw. I think.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have really much reference.
Yeah, I mean you have diagrams, but it's hard to kind of get the actual. Oh, that's the kind of texture it should be. And we gotta say props to Arik. He keeps himself good hygiene.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a
There's
scrap
no
of anything
earwax or
there.
nothing. Yeah.
Clean as a
It,
whistle. As a
it must
whistle.
come from all that running water.
True. But all right then. That was the 45th episode of Hardcast, detailing Exo Manowar Volume 8. For more content from me and Chris, follow us on Twitter at Humphrey_Erm and at Christian D. Claus. And you can listen to our entire backlog of episodes on podbean.com/ValiantHardcast. Remember to like us on facebook.com/ValiantHardcast for news and reactions related to Valiant. You can discuss this episode on our subreddit called Hardcast. Catch us later for our next episode, discussing The Death-Defying Dr. Mirage, Volume 1.